polio vaccines anyway.
Alright, ignore all that. This is the official start of the video. Okay. So, something I hate about Skype now is that, besides everything, is that the call ringing noise, like when you call someone, it rings so loud that it actually, I looked at the audio thing, it peaks every single tone. It goes, bun dun dun, dun dun dun, and it's so loud that, like, the audio just spikes straight up into the very top of the bar, which means that it's going at about 99, maybe 100 decibels. And if I didn't have my audio, like, if I didn't have my headphones volume down at, like, 15%, I'd have gone deaf. Like, holy shit, that was loud. I have no idea why they think it's okay to make it that loud. Like, that there should be a law against it in the same way that there's a law about making commercials that are super loud to get people's attention so they can hear it from the kitchen.
Skype has a lot of problems, but at the very least, it doesn't glitch out nearly as much as Discord does.
Yeah, unfortunately for us, I mean, we've talked about it before, but for people who are watching for the first time, or rather listening, Discord works even worse for us. Like, as many horrible problems as Skype has, it's still not quite as bad for recording this as Discord is, because we spend so much time troubleshooting Discord trying to get it to work, because it'll just connect a call with no audio, and then we go with Skype, and while sometimes it slows down, it pretty much never does that.
Especially annoying is it takes in Discord, it takes a couple of seconds before it actually starts recognizing your voice. So it's very often that it'll just cut out and you'll just not hear half of what somebody says. And the connection is still there, but you don't hear what they're saying in a conversation-based setting that's a bit weird and bad.
Yeah. It's we're still trying to find some kind of alternative. And someone in the comments is like, "Yo, check out this free new app called Gamer Chat and whatnot." And it's just you hook it up to a pilot headset that they have for helicopter pilots.
But we don't have any money.
As much as I love video games and playing them, I still think video gamer headsets with the little microphone is the dumbest, silliest, stupidest looking thing ever, and no one looks cool wearing one of those.
My brother has one of those.
Your brother looks especially not cool wearing one of those.
Boy, does he.
Is he wearing his Mass Effect N7 hoodie?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that hoodie is super cool, but not when he wears it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he takes all the fun out of that hoodie by wearing it.
Okay. So, do you want to hear about the time that my brother tried to stop us from watching The Last Jedi?
Sure.
Okay, so over break, back when I was back in the correct time zone and correct altitude.
Yes.
We went to see, we of course talk about movies with my family because, well, there's me, who is the movie aficionado. There's my brother, who will watch movies occasionally, but he doesn't have very good opinions about them, and he doesn't really like to think about them more than, oh, did I like it or did I not like it? And then, of course, there's my aunt, who's like the classic cinephile. So we talk about movies sometimes, and so we decided to, we thought over break, let's just not see, or so we decided, oh, what are we going to do on Christmas? Because, you know, my uncle's in town, we've got family in town, what are we going to do for Christmas? So, okay, let's go and see a movie. And it's like, oh, I haven't seen The Last Jedi, I haven't seen Shape of Water, I haven't seen blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, Shape of Water is, no, and then my brother is like, oh, Star Wars sucks, it's so bad, we should go and see something else. So, we did, we just went and saw, you know, whatever.
Huh.
We saw Shape of Water instead. And it's like, okay, I wanted to see Shape of Water anyway. But then later, we were like, oh, we were like, oh, so I ended up seeing Star Wars: The Last Jedi the night before I flew back to the not correct time zone. And constantly, every time we brought it up with my brother, he'd be like, no, it sucks, it's terrible, it sucks, it's terrible, it sucks, it's terrible, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like,
if you watch this movie, you will literally die of cancer.
No, it was that tone. It was like, calm down, let us make up our own opinion about the movie.
Hey there, buddy. How about you let us just watch it for ourselves? You know, I don't even understand the logic of, no, it's bad, don't see it. Like let people decide for themselves. Opinions are objective. If they hate it, they'll hate it. In fact, you know, you should encourage them to watch it. So if they also hate it, you can like have like a big old circle jerk about how much you agree with each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or if they disagree.
I think my brother was pretty sure that I would disagree with him. So there's that.
Well, I mean, he's a very hard to agree with person.
Yeah.
I like how your brother is like slowly becoming our nemesis. Like we talk about him almost as much as that other guy with the opinions about rounded edges.
Except that he's more funny to laugh at. My brother is more just frustrating.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he's funny to laugh at. So, So
let me pull up. So speaking of that, I sent you a screen cap of something that he commented on the internet. So I'm going to read this out to the audience. So this is a response to the post that there was the MRAs talking about editing all the women out of this Last Jedi, and he said, as a lifelong Star Wars fan, might actually be better since many, not all, of the female characters were poorly written and not very interesting. To be fair, many of the male characters were not at all interesting and were poorly written and not interesting.
So
that's a difficult question. For actors, I think they did a fantastic job with what they had. As far as script of character development, I think Leia's character was great, unneeded Mary Poppins thing aside, and I thought Rey's character was a Mary Sue.
So he thinks that the men and women characters were poorly written,
yeah,
but still only edited out all the women ones.
Mm-hmm.
Including
better because it's the worst movie ever made. So anything to get rid of, like, I think he really hates the Laura Dern's character.
To be fair, her character was a little frustrating. I liked Rey. I thought Rey was actually more interesting in this one than she was in the last one. Because like I couldn't stand Rey in Force Awakens, but I thought she was alright here.
Yeah, I didn't like a lot of the characters in Force Awakens.
I thought Finn was alright, but I was like really excited for him to have a really big role. Like I went into the movie like really excited for Finn to have a main character role. Because like, okay, one, I think it's cool to have a black protagonist because I feel like we honestly don't have enough of those. And two, I think the concept of a stormtrooper that becomes a Jedi sounds super awesome. And then that didn't happen.
That was a giant fake out by the advertising marketing campaign.
It was effective because I went into the movie going, "Oh, dude, can you imagine if he wore his stormtrooper suit while he had the lightsaber? He'd be the coolest fucking thing ever." Because stormtroopers look cool, like their suit is just objectively awesome to look at. But combatively, they suck. They're the most like terrible, boring, ineffective enemy ever. Now, if you make one a Jedi who's super cool and can do action things, that means your main character looks cool and can fight good. So I was excited. Because I always think Jedis don't look very cool because they're mostly just wearing bathrobes. That's Xavier's
I love how,
fifth grade conversation for the day.
But like, so here's the last thing about The Last Jedi that I'll say is that I've heard a lot of arguments about how it's the worst thing since cancer, and I've heard a lot about how it's the worst thing since the fall of man. I haven't heard any convincing arguments for why it's bad yet. Not perfect, overblown, and overstuffed, but I haven't heard any good arguments for why it's bad.
It's a movie that could use some very strong edits. There's a lot of stuff in there that like ultimately didn't matter to the plot. and characters who are just kind of there for the sake.
I think that a lot of it had. I don't think that. I think there's a lot of it that had purpose that people just aren't willing to look at. Like, for example, the whole casino scene. I think that was important because it was like sort of a reference to like why these characters are actually fighting this war at all.
You know, because when you're talking about screenwriting in film school, they tell you that not every scene needs to advance the plot, but there's a giant but, the biggest but in the world. If it isn't advancing the plot, it should be revealing character. You need to have your characters develop in scenes.
And like, there was some character there in the whole
yeah. If there's a scene where two characters are sitting on a bench in the park and just talking about themselves, granted it's not moving the plot forward, but you're learning about the characters, and that's important because you need to actually know things about your characters and care about them. Otherwise, they're cardboard cutouts, and it's just like people doing things and not people you like. So there was character revealed in those scenes. I think they... I don't know. I think they got a little redundant with their point on a few occasions. Like, yes, we get it. The war is bad. Okay,
people are getting rich while the rest of the universe is dying. We get it. Rich people are terrible.
We've established this. Like, you said that 15 minutes ago. We got it. I think you only need to say a thing 3 times throughout the course of a movie. You say it once, you kind of establish the idea. You enforce it the second time, and then you bring it to its logical conclusion the third time. If you talk about it a 4th or 5th time, it's become redundant. No one wants to hear about it anymore. So, I don't know. I think there's some stuff that could be improved. It's weird. It's been like almost a month, and we're still just kind of accidentally talking about this movie. We weren't even intending.
It's like what happened with Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yeah, where it just keeps coming up. It's one of those movies that really resonates with you, where you just can't stop talking about it and how much you hate and or love it several months later. I guess that's one good thing is, like, art is meant to make you feel emotion. I feel emotions. I feel confused. A lot of people felt betrayed. So, yeah, but I don't know. It's not the worst movie in the universe, and I think people need to move on.
I think that the Star Wars fans need to grow up and learn that their super important work, that the Star Wars movies aren't as epic and awesome as they've convinced themselves that they are.
I think there's I don't know.
There's a little bit of nostalgia goggles on for the previous movies, and
like, I'm not even mad about the prequels anymore. I think it's just
The Force Awakens and Rogue One revel in that nostalgia, and this movie doesn't. So I think that's why people hate it so much, because it isn't reminding you of how awesome the movies that you liked in your childhood were. And then it's not...
Well, and I would say another part of it is that this movie is almost critical of those old movies. Like, it actually kind of tries to go against their thesis for the original trilogy. Like I don't know, it asks some questions that people are, like, never really, like, ready to answer. Like, what if Jedi are just, like, inherently kind of a bunch of fuck-ups and don't deserve to exist?
What if the Skywalkers caused just as many problems as they solved them?
What if not everything is about destiny and, like, just stuff just happens at random sometimes?
What if you weren't born to save the universe?
What if you weren't a human that was convinced he was a robot but was indeed just a robot the whole time?
What are you talking about now?
It's Blade Runner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Blade Runner was
awesome. I think
awesome.
It's really cool that they had the same the spoilers. Blade Runner and Last Jedi had the same twist.
More or less, yeah. That basically just you're not special.
But you can still do special things.
Which is strange in a really, like,
it's taking the message of the Lego Movie, but in a non-comedic way.
Yeah, and it's just harsh and kind of mean sounding, but at the same time,
But-
it's like not untrue.
It was a lot more hopeful and like joyous in the Lego Movie, because the Lego Movie was like, hey, anybody can be a special.
Anyone can be the special. If no one's special, technically we're all special. Which is like a kind of like a good way to market that idea to children. And then you get Blade Runner, which is Lego Movie for big people. Which just tells you your dreams are shit. And you should die on a stairwell. And that someone else is more important than you.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck. I love Blade Runner so much. It's so good.
If I will say one thing, that it really did capture the existential emptiness of the book.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's one of those movies that makes you feel like garbage. It reminds me of Soma, which is one of my favorite video games ever, is because, like, it's one of those stories where you just go in kind of not sure what to expect, and maybe around the middle point you're like, maybe there'll be a happy ending, and then it puts you into this false sense of security, and then just slaps the cake out of your hands and says, no happy ending. By the way, if you haven't played Soma, you should. It's way better than Amnesia.
Soma Ulte?
Yes. That's a controversial statement, and I've probably lost several subscribers by saying that.
I got those for free because they were on Humble Bundle for free, but I haven't watched them, played them yet, because I'm too busy reading the Iliad.
The Iliad and the Odyssey?
Yeah.
Hey, so yesterday I got to hang out with my friend Damien. That was really cool.
Right?
You know how I have that guy Levianist on Twitter? He works on my comics.
And you have friends?
Yeah.
What a nerd.
You've talked to him before. You helped me out when I was trying to write that school assignment, and I was just like, I needed people to help me focus because I kept getting distracted. So I was just like, hey guys, just talk with me while I work on this. And it really actually helped me get it done, ironically. But yeah, he's a really cool guy, and we've been friends for about a year and a half now, I think, maybe. And it was really cool getting to see him in person after knowing him only through the internet for a very long time. It's like super surreal seeing someone in person after they're like only in a box on a screen for as long as it's like meeting a fictional character. It's radical. If you have internet
tubular.
If you have internet pen pal bros that you know through a distance, try and meet them in person, through whatever means, because it's just a really great feeling.
Yeah.
I'd like to meet some of my other friends, like Dane. Sounds like a really cool, awesome, super cool guy. I've always wanted to meet him in person and just talk about comic books and shit. My buddy Brandon.
So basically, what you're saying is that the person who is listening to this podcast, likely online in their room or doing their laundry or whatever, needs to turn this off and go and have fun and do stuff outside with other people.
Yeah, go.
So stop doing the thing that.
Stop making petitions about Star Wars and go have fun with your friends. Life's too short to be this angry about a movie. Just get it. Just move on. Just hang out with your friends. Tell your mom you love her and you appreciate all the sacrifices.
Be sure to drink water.
Drink lots of water.
Take a shower every now and then.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah, it's good for you. Not too often.
Work out.
Yeah, get some exercise. It feels good.
Get some exercise. Yeah. Do your homework.
We're the biggest hypocrites ever in this podcast, like of all time. We are the worst people. Oh my god, we're just telling people to do the things that we don't do.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but yeah, I'm looking forward to hanging out with him again on hopefully Wednesday, maybe Thursday as well. He's really radical awesome. We should have him on the podcast sometime. He's great to talk to.
Yeah, we should have somebody on the podcast.
I know a couple of people who would really like to be guests. My buddy Ben, he's asked maybe if we could have him on as a guest before.
So if you're listening, here's our policy on guests. Every now and then, we just decide to have somebody on there for fun. Like we had Kyle on that one time when we read Sonic fanfiction. We should have Josh on. I don't think he's been on.
Yeah, we always try to schedule Josh to work on more video stuff, but he's always so busy that we get like maybe a Couch Potatoes episode, maybe he helps out with like a behind the scenes sort of thing. But like, I'd like to have him take more of like a front and center in some of our content because he's just such a cool guy. He needs
to actually make YouTube videos, like he keeps saying.
He's been talking about making YouTube videos for 2 years, and he hasn't made a single one, and I'm getting upset because he's such a cool and entertaining guy, and it's so obnoxious.
Really good videos.
He could make super awesome videos if he just apply himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Josh, get on it. He doesn't listen to this. He doesn't care.
Yep.
He's too busy hanging out with his cool new friends.
Who don't make podcasts on the internet.
Too busy hanging out with his cool new college friends that are like models and shit. Fucking Josh. I hate his dumb, cool leather jacket. He's so handsome. Piece of shit. Kill him. Anyway.
Let's kill him.
Yeah, YouTube's gonna come after us.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, you want to pitch my idea for a TV show?
You had an idea for like a since
we've kind of had Star Wars on the brain. I had this.
Since we had Star Wars on the brain, and because Xavier's favorite show of all time is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and because Disney wants more of those Star Wars TV shows and stories to fill up their new streaming service that nobody cares about, we thought we'd pitch in.
Yeah. So I had this idea.
If you're listening, Disney executive, we've got a pitch for our Star Wars sitcom.
Yeah, so...
Now, hear us out.
All right.
That may sound like the worst thing of all time, but go ahead.
Okay, so get this. It's about 2 stormtroopers who live on the Death Star, right? It would be relatively easy to film because you'd just need a bunch of hallway sets and, like, really enclosed off rooms. Basically...
Think like the level of effort that they put into that Kylo Ren boss thing.
Yeah.
From SNL.
Yeah, the undercover boss thing. Like, it would be relatively cheap to produce. But basically it's just about, like, 2 stormtroopers who are, like, one of, like... You know, they're, like, 2 out of billions on the Death Star. There's so many people in there, right? Because it's, like, the size of a moon, and it's... entirely full of stormtroopers. What if there's 2 of them that are just like really benevolent, or not benevolent?
What if they're like the janitors, or the electrical repairman or something?
I like to imagine like what if they're just 2 of the guys who just like guard one of the doors somewhere. You know, like their job is to stand at a door for like an 8-hour shift and then go stand at a different door and like. Whenever they get free time, they're just kind of screwing around and like not really giving a shit about everything. Like they're really ambivalent towards the goings-ons of the Star Wars universe. Like they
and there will be an episode every now and then where they just take vacation time and go to Cloud City or something and just gamble.
They just go to random Star Wars locations and not really interact with any of like they'll walk by important Star Wars plot events and then not care about them. Like they just don't give a shit. They got their own stuff going on, you know. Like one of them, I like to imagine like they try to look busy whenever Darth Vader walks by, or like sometimes they get in trouble with their boss Grand Moff Tarkin because they're not working hard enough, or you know they're caught slacking on the job, or like maybe the guy that Darth Vader chokes out in the scene in the boardroom meeting. Maybe that's like someone that they know, and he's like embezzling money from the Death Star, and like they're like trying to figure out whether or not they should call him out on it. And they're like, well, we don't need to get involved. But it's just like them just kind of screwing around, talking about goofy stuff and doing weird stuff on the Death Star because there's just... I mean, wouldn't it be kind of cool to live there? Like, it's a giant building the size of a moon. It's endless hallways and rooms. You could, like, do all kinds of stuff in there, right? Maybe there's an episode where one of them decides to just go...
Where they lose, like, an important... Where they like, break a robot and they have to... Like, the torture bot.
Oh, yeah, they break the torture bot and they have to fix it before an important, like, VIP prisoner gets transferred to the detention center. And they're like, how do you fix the... Oh, God. If Darth Vader finds out we're screwing around with this for fun, he's going to be really pissed. You know he has a thing about choking employees to death. Or maybe one of them just gets lost in, like, a really uncharted part of the station. Like, because it's so big, he just, like, takes a wrong turn somewhere and ends up getting, like, stuck in, like, this really random place. I don't know. There's all kinds of fun stuff you could do on the Death Star. And we thought about, like, what if, like, at the end of the second season, something like the New Hope battle finally happens and the Death Star is blown up. And then they're just kind of, like, out of a job kind of between places for a whole season. Like, they go... One of them goes on, like, a bender at Cloud City and is just, like, expending exorbitant amounts of cash and getting drunk. And the other one has to convince him to go back when they build a new Death Star. And then, like, the third Death Star could be, like really poorly put together since it's, like, a work in progress. And, you know, it's, like, unfinished. So it's, like, they're basically working in the world's largest construction zone. And there's all kinds of, like, dangers that come with that. And they have to work with, like, union workers that aren't Empire who are just hired to build the thing. I don't know. It could be fun. You know? I feel like it was, like, the conversation we had 20 minutes before starting the podcast. We pitched the idea way better.
Yeah.
I hate when that happens.
So it's basically like Always Sunny in Philadelphia, except in space?
Yeah, with just two Stormtrooper bros. I mean, because, you know, like, they don't even have to really be good at combat. It's
just like maybe one of them is, like, only serving because he gets the space version of the GI Bill.
Yeah.
So he can afford college. And, like, the other one's just working because he couldn't get it.
Maybe he's just, like, couldn't get a better job.
Yeah, and or his family pushed him into it and he doesn't care about it.
Yeah.
And he secretly wants to be, like, an artist or something. And maybe he's a really bad artist, like sort of a Squidward.
Yeah, like he's just trying to constantly like he's a really pretentious kind of artist who's trying to get better, and he's just, like, never doing it right enough. Exactly. It's perfect.
I'm sorry, my Squidward impression is terrible.
Does anyone in the world have a good Squidward impression, though?
Okay, I am going to be 100% serious here. Watching Squidward in Spongebob, it's like looking into a mirror. I swear I am Squidward.
Am I Spongebob, then?
Well, think about it this way. I play the clarinet. I don't right now because I've given it up, but I've played the clarinet. I know how to play it. I can't play it very well. I'm a misanthrope because I usually hate most everybody. I'm pretentious and I like to pretend that I'm more intelligent than I actually am. And I and I do a job that's way below my level of intelligence because I don't know what else I'd do with my time. And that job is YouTube.
Yeah.
Even though I earn no money, which is much like what Mr. Krabs pays them.
Okay, I'm starting to buy this now. I wasn't so sure when you brought it up, but now when you put it this way.
I am Squidward.
What does that make me in that case? Because I want to say SpongeBob because I'm the annoying one who has a lot more energy. But
sure, why not?
But I feel like I don't quite annoy you at that level, and you still actively try to hang out with me. Well, obviously I'm Squilliam.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I have more hair.
No, well, Right now you do.
I have way too much hair right now.
You have Ben Reilly hair.
Yeah, Ben Reilly in the 90s, when he became like a homeless drifter man, his hair was down to his shoulders and looked really stupid.
So my nickname for Xavier on a Facebook Messenger right now is Ben Reilly Body Double.
Perfect. Remember in that clone video I was making the Ben Reilly costume and the Miles Morales costume, and we tried to dye my hair blonde with like a temporary dye. Cause we did that for David when he was Cable in the Deadpool review.
Yeah, you dyed my hair white,
and it worked. Like his like super dark brown hair became like Snow White, and it looked great. But we tried to do
it was more like a steel gray. Yeah.
Close enough. But with mine, we tried to get it to turn yellow
from orange.
From red, and it just stayed in the middle at orange. Like, it became Cheeto
got, like,
orange.
It was a Cheeto orange, and it dyed his skin as well Cheeto orange. And we made so many Trump jokes. It was amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of jokes about my hair color.
You wanna tell them how long it took to actually wash that off?
I think I was in the bathroom for like 30 minutes just trying to get it, like... Just sitting there, like I was fully clothed, just hunched over the bathtub with the shower fountain going, and just trying to get my hair to go back to its natural red, and it just looked so stupid.
Your hair looks stupid anyway, so you shouldn't really be all that concerned about it, especially right now.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just tired.
So what's your opinion on Firefly?
Firefly? Oh, that's one of those things where it's like no matter how hard I try to get into it, I just can't.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried and tried. It's not for me, man. I don't know.
Sci-Fi Fantasy Club had a complete series binge watch yesterday, and I popped in for a couple of hours.
Who's Sci-Fi Fan Club?
Sci-Fi Fantasy Club.
Science Fiction Fan Club.
College.
Okay.
Where we just watch movies. Last week's movie was Hoodwinked.
That movie's great.
You know the one with Anne Hathaway. The good movie with Anne Hathaway in it.
There's not a lot of those.
Colossal is another.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that she was in the original one of that, but in the sequel, because I guess she was too good for it, the entire voice cast returned except her, so they had to get, like, the cheerleader from Heroes to voice Red Riding Hood. Yeah. Hayden Panettiere. I'm, like, 90% sure that's who it was. It could be someone else.
So, Hoodwinked, how did I not hear about this movie before, Wednesday?
I don't know. I mean, it's not exactly one of those ones everyone talks about as being, like, really great. I like it. I think it's very good.
I thought it was what Shrek was trying to be, but didn't quite get to be.
Where it was, like a really clever parody of because Shrek was like more of like a role reversal sort of like parody of general like fairy tales, but it didn't really. Sure, it had references.
It didn't really know what it wanted to be except for a Disney movie, but with jokes and a person who isn't attractive in the lead.
I get, yeah. Poor Chris Farley. But anyway, so okay, I love Shrek. I think it's a great movie. But I'm gonna say, I think the idea was that they wanted to have a parody of like fairy tales, but instead they went too general. So it just became more like it's a random weird story. It's got
Matrix references in it and everything.
Yeah, in a fairy tale universe. Like there's references and like cameos from these characters, but it didn't quite go far enough to actually like use one of them and like actually poke fun at a specific story. It was just like it was just like picking apart the idea, you know? Well, as Hoodwinked specifically takes an old fairy tale idea and then like like completely redoes that in a weird
and just
modernized
has a
way.
bunch of like really great jokes in it.
Yeah, they're two different takes on the same idea, and while I'm gonna go ahead and say Hoodwinked is basically trying to rip off Shrek, I think
But it's better.
I think they managed to get the idea better there.
They went all the way with it, and I think that's what made it better.
Because Shrek kind of, I'm not gonna say half-assed, but it just like
Shrek didn't didn't go all the way with the ideas.
Yeah.
It didn't quite. It wanted to go for something, but it didn't quite get there.
Yeah. Like
Shrek 2 is good though.
Even like the fairy godmother character is not specifically a fairy godmother from anything. It's just like a parody of the trope, you know. Like it dissects
think,
these characters, like
I think,
but not closely enough.
I think Shrek 2 is good, but it's not perfect.
I can't remember a single thing about Hoodwink 2. I'm pretty sure it's garbage. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's
Shrek 2 had some pretty great jokes, like the bit when they go through the drive-thru.
Oh yeah.
That's really great.
Well, Shrek 2
So
I
Shrek
think is
1
actually better than
wasn't
Shrek
quite
1.
There.
Shrek 2 is fantastic. Oh, you know what?
But Hoodwinked is better.
You know what I remember about Hoodwink 2, and I can't even remember. I don't know if this is like a real thing or not. This could be like Mandela effect, me just making up something because it sounds like it would make sense. I think there's a scene in Hoodwink 2 where the villain of the first movie is in like a Hannibal Lecter parody setup where he's like tied up in a straitjacket on a table with a thing on his face so he doesn't bite anyone. Mm-hmm. And that's a pretty funny image considering who the villain of the first movie is.
Mm-hmm. What I think is even better than that, I think the best Hannibal Lecter reference is in Shaun the Sheep, the movie, when they're going into the animal control center, and then there's the cat with the plastic cone around its head and it goes, and it's so great. You're like, well, what? I thought this was a kids movie. Why are they referencing Hannibal Lecter? It's amazing.
I always love when kids movies pull references to things that are super not okay for kids.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That's like one of my favorite things. I'm trying to think of examples. Like there's like general examples. Like I know Rocko's Modern Life was like really edgy, but it was like good at hiding it. Like for example, one time there's an episode where Rocko is trying to get a different job. And he works at a phone sex line, but it's only implied. And then, like, his neighbor is on the line, and she recognizes him, and then he hangs up and gets a different job. And as a kid, that doesn't register at all, but you watch that as an adult, and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe they put that in the show for kids.
My other favorite one is the one with, I think the other one that's really good at doing that is, Invader Zim.
Oh, yeah.
Invader Zim, I think somebody said online that it's like Rick and Morty, but cleverer.
Rick and Morty, but like the nihilism is like meant to be criticized and not so much. That's the thing that bothers me about Rick and Morty is that, you know, a lot of people idolize the nihilism and think Rick is awesome and don't see that the show is very clearly criticizing him.
Yeah,
so like they're missing the point entirely.
When watching Rick and Morty, is that you're not supposed to like Rick, but a lot of people identify with Rick, and you're like, what? And then I just like it. I mean, I hate to say this, but I immediately judge anybody who says, "Oh, I love Rick is the person I aspire to be." It's like. So you want to be a bitter old man who suppresses his feelings and has no human connections with anybody.
You know what? One time really early on in the show, before it got like super mainstream, I remember there's this rant that Rick goes on where he talks about how love is a chemical reaction and that every marriage is doomed, and he says to to break the cycle and focus on science, right? And someone like took a screenshot of that and then put the dialogue in the caption, right? And then, you know who sent it to me and said, "This show sounds like it would be perfect for me"?
Who?
Jackson.
Oh.
And I immediately respond with, "Fuck off." And then I yelled at him. So yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah, I think that. I mean, I feel like what I've watched from it especially stepped up the criticism of that sort of stuff with season 3.
Season 3, like there's like whole episodes about like just people just kind of hating Rick, and like it feels like they can't be subtle about it anymore. Like they have to flat out have the characters say he's an asshole, and then him say I'm an asshole.
Like the episode where he gets drunk and sets up saw traps for all the superheroes. It's like that's not good. He did a bad thing, and it's like and then there's a lot of development with like Morty realizing that and not being as okay with Rick doing stuff as he used to be. And I don't understand why people can still go like, oh, he's the person I aspire to be.
He's such a hero.
He's such a hero because he's an asshole.
Yeah, I don't know, but like you get a show like Invader Zim, where it's kind of strange because it has it sort of does it differently, where the entire universe is nihilistic.
The entire universe is nihilistic, but the main characters care a little bit too much.
Yeah, like the characters that are there that you follow, they're the ones that want to make things either better or worse, right? Like Dib. He's like just objectively a good character. Like he's a good guy, but they play him as the antagonist, which I think is kind of interesting. And like you're not supposed to ever like root for Zim, but it tries to make you do it. It's super strange how the show functions. Like I really like. It never occurred to me until like really recently how bizarre of a setup that show is,
but it's so good.
You're trying to root for the character who wants to kill all humans, and then you hate the good guy who's trying to stop him. And it kind of makes you think about like I don't know, it makes you just sort of ask questions about yourself. Like,
and the whole joke about nihilism is that the main characters care too much. And a lot of the problems that the characters come into is because they care too much about things and they get too wrapped up in stuff. Like the episode where Zim gets lost.
Oh yeah, Zim gets lost on his way home.
I'm gonna die!
Everyone is super ultra dramatic about very minor things in a world that's totally ambivalent to them. So,
and that's the way they approach the nihilism thing, is that you kind of find your own meaning, however you can.
Yeah. Well, like, I think another great example of that is the episode where Dib's sister is in line for, like,
the Game Slave 3?
A portable game console, right? Like she wants to get, like, basically a PlayStation Vita, and someone cuts in front of her in line and gets the last one, and she goes absolutely ballistic over it, and it becomes like a horror movie where you follow this rando character who's never been there before, and it's her hunting him down, trying to kill him because he took the only thing that mattered to her, which is video games.
Which is the video game, so.
Yeah, and it's just like, it takes the like, I like that style of humor where it's like you take really minor, silly things and then just blow them up and make them the most important thing in the universe. Well, it's another show that does that, and I know you'll probably never end up watching it. But I think another show that does that really well is South Park.
I keep being told that I should watch South Park, but I just don't.
It's like My Hero Academia for me. It's like, it's probably awesome, and I'd probably love it, but every time like another 50 people tell me to check it out, it makes me not want to check it out.
That was me with stuff like RoboCop and Fight Club. It was just like...
But eventually you gotta bite the bullet and just watch it, because it's good and you'll enjoy it. It's just like...
But with a movie like RoboCop or Fight Club, it's 2 hours long.
But with a whole TV show.
And I also had a review show that was intentionally built around watching movies that we hadn't seen before, so...
Yeah. While as with with a show like South Park, you gotta commit really hard to that if you want to get into it.
I have slowed down so much watching television.
You know what? I don't think I can watch television during the school year. Like, I have to. I have to wait till summer and then catch up on TV shows. Like, I watched all of Prison Break this summer, and it was all right in some places, but not in others.
What I did over break was that I just binge watched Spongebob.
But then when it comes to, like, the school year, it's just like, I can't find time to watch a whole TV show. Like, between work and school, it's just like, it feels intimidating if a show is more than 3 episodes. And every time someone recommends a show to me, it's longer than that.
I've got a script that I wrote about this, but I'm gonna do my rant about it anyway. Binge watching ruins a show.
Okay.
Because when you're watching movies, when you're watching a TV show during the school year, it's so much cooler to have like 1 episode a week and just watch that. And you're like, it's like Friday night. Oh, there's a new episode of blank TV show. Okay, let's watch it. Instead of like with Stranger Things where you have a whole season at once.
Yeah.
So you've got like say you've got 1 episode of Stranger Things a week for the month of October or something. Wouldn't that be so much cooler? Because like, especially for people like us who are doing school and YouTube stuff, it's a lot easier to spare an hour a week than it is to just sit down and watch 6 hours of television.
I'll agree to you in that aspect, that if a show is coming out episode to episode, I'm more likely to watch it during like the school year when things are really, really busy. Mm-hmm. But I also feel like sometimes like my viewing experience, and this is just like a patience thing, it starts to like wear thin on me when I have to watch a show and I'm really invested in what's going on and it's getting really good, and then it stops after a little while and it's like, well, all right, well, see you in a week, and I'm like, I have to wait 7 days to know whether or not this character says yes to this really simple question. Like, I hate cliffhangers, you know? Like, I feel like they're cheap and they're aggravating, and they're also an annoying gamble in the off chance that the show doesn't get renewed. I'm never gonna know. I'm never gonna know if Earl is actually Dodge's real dad in My Name Is Earl.
You know what I hate even more than that, though?
What?
I hate a TV show that's ruined that you can't just pick up and watch a little bit of and then pick back down. Something like the Stranger Thingses of the world or the Daredevils of the world, where you kind of have to watch it all at once to appreciate it.
Yeah.
I like being able to pick something up and put it back down again and be like, oh yeah, I remember that. That was cool.
You know what show I've
but
lost
you
all
can't do that with
patience for?
Stranger Things.
And this sucks because this used to be one of my favorite shows. I cannot watch Red vs. Blue week to week anymore. Like, it pisses me. I get angry because it's like watching a really, really engaging, interesting movie, but because the episodes are like 5 to 10 minutes long, it's like every time a scene ends, essentially, someone just like turns off the TV and says, all right, come back in 7 days. Occasionally they'll throw in like PSAs or like random stuff that makes the episodes 2 weeks apart, and that's even more aggravating.
So there needs to be a decent amount per chunk, is what you're saying.
If it's, like Red vs. Blue,
so
I
refuse,
minutes
to an hour
or
least.
even like Ruby, like I hated watching that too. Like I already had problems with the show itself, because it's basically just a list of anime tropes just kind of bunched together, and it's not interesting. But
sounds like a great show that I should totally watch.
But on top of that, having to also only enjoy it in fucking 5-minute increments, it's, come on, like, just put out the 2-hour movie and be done. Stop ruining it.
Yeah,
like,
make it a YouTube Red original or whatever you're doing these days.
Rooster Teeth.
Roostermans.
I love Rooster Teeth. I think they make some really great content.
I'm sure it'll go great alongside Lazer Team 2.
Lazer Team 1. This is like the dumbest thing ever, and I people are probably gonna think I'm an idiot for saying this. I really was disappointed with Lazer Team 1 because it was PG-13, and I feel like they kind of don't know how to write comedy for PG-13. Like, they're really good at sort of like more adult style comedy, especially in Red vs. Blue. And
I just watched the trailer for Lazer Team, and I just thought, this looks bad.
like, the jokes are just so toothless. Like, nothing lands. It's just like, ugh. Like everything that should by all means be funny, it just doesn't quite work. I don't. It just feels like I almost feel like I see the writer in my head struggling to not use a cuss word every time the opportunity comes up, or trying not to like write something really overly vulgar. Like, so he's just, it starts coming off as like a, I don't know, like a kid's movie that's trying too hard. Like, it doesn't work for me. I don't know. I don't like Lazer Team. I'm sorry. Which was, like, really unfortunate because, like, a lot of my friends are really huge Rooster Teeth fans like I am. And we were all super excited for it when it was coming out. And we kept trying to find a way to get to, like, a theater showing for it. And then I eventually ended up getting, like, a month trial on YouTube Red or whatever. And then watching it. And I was like, wow, this is not their best work. Like, it just, maybe the second one's a lot better. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
There's also some, like, really, really bad special effects in there. Like,
yep.
Like, if you've seen the
I just
ending,
watched the trailer and I thought, ugh.
Because there's some great ones that look really good. But then there's, like at the end of Lazer Team 1, I remember there was this scene where they're at a football field and there's, like, stands full of holographic aliens, and they looked so bad. Like, they had no texture or anything, and they like, you could see the polygons on them. They just looked so cheap, and I was just shocked because I knew they could do better animation than that, because they routinely do it for all of their other projects. It was like, what? Why couldn't you give those a second render? Those look so bad. Like, it was like taking me out of the scene, and I almost started cringing because it felt like I was watching a YouTube video. Like, it didn't feel like a movie. It started feeling like a really low budget YouTube video. And, like, sometimes you can make the excuse that, oh, it's funny because it's bad, you know? Like, the CGI effect is terrible, so you can laugh at it. Like it's intentional.
It's satire.
There's campy CGI that's bad on purpose.
But it's satire. It's supposed to be bad.
But then there was just, like, it should have looked better than that, and because it doesn't, the scene now doesn't work. Like, I'm just, like, cringing, going, oh, they could have done better than that. Come on. Oh, that doesn't look good. Oh, come on. Like, Post a comment on this web zone if you also were disappointed with Lazer Team. Or if it's a really amazing movie and we're just stupid. Post a comment.
Nah, it's the best movie ever made. You're just an idiot.
I'm just a hater, bro.
Yeah, you're a hater. No, you're a hatter.
The Mad Hatter. That sounds like a cooler Batman villain. The Mad Hater. And he's just
the Mad Hater.
And he's just a guy who goes on, like, Batman forums and just shit talks him. And Batman's like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Not being a fan of you, I'll tell you that much."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
My controller keeps dying because we don't have any batteries in this house, and I'm very sad.
What?
I don't have any good batteries. Like, I thought I found some that would work, but they keep running out every, like, I don't know, 5 minutes. The controller disconnects. I'm very sad.
You are.
You are.
Sad. At everything.
You're sad.
No, you're sad.
I can't even turn the controller on long enough to, like hit the menu and exit the game. There we go.
Can I say how awesome all the YouTube original movies are? Because they've got Lazer Team 2. There's the Hunger Games, but with standardized testing, that has the Suicide Man in it.
Oh yeah, Suicide Man. That sounds like a really cool superhero name, actually. Like a really edgy one for sure, but, like, kind of neat.
Just amazing quality content on YouTube Red, right?
Yeah, some real
They're
good
just-
shit.
Let's see, original films. Let's look up all these epic movies. The Thinning, with that guy. Laser Team Dance Camp. Laser Team 2. Upcoming original programming. Cobra Kai. Best Shot. Lisa on Demand. I think it's kind of inherently dumb that the YouTube Red tries to make like upper level content with the people who've gotten most popular on a platform that incentivizes you to make as little make.
I was just about to say that's why I think that there's this misunderstanding about why exactly YouTube people are famous. It's not because they're good actors or because they're like super super handsome. I mean, some of them that's the case. There's a lot of like really like Barbie and Ken doll looking motherfuckers from LA that get a lot of subscribers, but like for the most part, people on the internet, on YouTube specifically, a lot of them got famous because they were so down to earth and normal seeming.
And they're good at making short form content, not long form content.
Yeah, like James Rolfe. He does not look like a Hollywood man. Like, he looks like a guy you'd meet on the street. But Angry Video Game Nerd is a great show, and it's as good now as it was 10 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. Because his format is like 10-minute increments, sometimes maybe a little longer, but like, you know, he does like his 2-hour movie, and everyone basically just says they hated that. I think what people look to for YouTubers is celebrities that are like relatable and normal people, and not Hollywood perfect people that you'd see on like Arrow. Like, Arrow is a weird show because there's not a single ugly person on that entire show.
And plus, if you're doing, I'm talking about like long form content versus short form content in terms of the way you approach writing it.
Yeah.
Like, you need to have a bit more character and heart and like emotion and sincerity in a long form story. And you can get away with a lot of dumb jokes in a short form video that would get really old if you did them over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talking about certain people. I'm not going to name them.
Well, then there's also a thing is that like a lot of people doing YouTube content aren't storytelling. They're just making videos talking about something else or themselves, or like there's nothing to imply that they'd be good writers. Unless they've done like scripted content, you know.
So I think it's just kind of dumb that YouTube is trying to have these original things with like featured creators and all that, because it's not what people go for YouTube.
Yeah.
If you want to watch a movie, you're gonna go to the movie theater.
I think YouTube
or Netflix even.
YouTube Red original content needs to figure out how to feel more like YouTube and stop trying to be something else. Because, like, they're trying to put YouTubers in situations that doesn't fit them. Like, Logan Paul is not an actor, you know? Or Shane Dawson is not Shane Dawson is not a director. Smosh aren't, you know, they're not writers, like, for movies. They can do, like, short comedy sketches, but in terms of, like, a 2-hour movie, Smosh the movie is awful. It's the worst. Fred... You remember Fred?
Oh boy!
Remember when they gave him 3 movies? They gave him a whole trilogy.
The epic trilogy. I mean, Dark Knight trilogy, Alien trilogy, Star Wars trilogy,
and then you got fucking Fred that stands head and shoulders above all the rest. All that shit's garbage.
It's just a perfect trilogy compared to the rest of the James Cameron.
Every movie is better than the last. So, yeah, there's a certain point where you just gotta go, like, do people not understand why YouTubers get famous? Do they not understand what makes them interesting to people?
PewDiePie gets famous for screaming into the camera and making dumb jokes.
So when you have, like, Fred...
He'd be good with a YouTube
Fred is
show.
not... Okay, I don't consider him funny, right? Like, I no disrespect to the guy behind the character, because I'm sure Lucas Cruikshank is, like, a great guy or whatever. But, like, the character, I'm going to assume was entertaining to people because it was, like, really quick and fast. You know, you get, like, a 5-minute video of him doing something wacky. All right, that's fun.
But it gets old real fast.
It gets old real fast. So when you watch him doing that for 2 hours straight, it's like the joke starts to wear off after the 20-minute mark, and then it's just like, what are we doing now? You know, people need to stop trying to turn YouTubers into other kinds of celebrities if they don't have the capacity for it. Like, you know, work within their skill set. Like, I think Rooster Teeth can make animated shows. I think they should start getting into more doing that, like, officially. Or Team 4-Star, who make Dragon Ball Abridged. They're really good at voice acting, so now they're doing official voice acting for, like, a dub of an anime movie, like a real one. They got contacted by the animation studio to write, like, translate the dialogue and then record it, and then they'll put it out, so they're the official voice actors. Like, yeah, you're playing to their strengths. You're doing what they're good at. You don't take, like, you know...
Nah, man, we need to make a Team 4-Star original movie
where it's
on YouTube Red.
Oh my god! Because then that would just be a bunch of guys who have no on-screen presence, who spend all their time voice acting and writing really good comedy, and you'd have them in front of a camera and they would not know what to do with themselves because they don't do that.
And they're not writing good comedy; they're just performing bad comedy.
Exactly. You know, it's you gotta play to the strength of the YouTuber. What exactly are they good at? And work with that. Don't make a movie about you know, what's a really good... You don't put Markiplier in a drama movie, you know?
Markiplier in a movie about how his wife getting cancer.
I mean,
he just did a really dramatic scene.
Yeah,
it'll
his voice would sound great for it, but...
I mean, it would make it so much funnier if in every different scene he had different colored hair.
Yeah, so like, but you know, he's good at performing on a stage. I guess he's done a lot of that before. You know, he could probably be like a stand-up comedian because he has a very good presence in a live thing. Like you can look at the guy and watch him just riffing and talking, you know. But him with a script is a little iffier, you know? So, yeah.
We should... I've got a pitch for the next YouTube original.
Yeah? I'm down. What is it?
Here is the best YouTube original.
Okay.
Hamlet, but with YouTube stars.
Oh my god. Who's gonna play Hamlet himself?
Who do you think?
Oh, him?
Yeah, him.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Do you really think he'd have the ability to say some of those lines?
He wouldn't, but that's the point.
To be or not to be, that is the question, bro.
Who would be Polonius then?
Polonius? It could be, what's his name? That guy, you know, the guy who's like known for just yelling at video games. That doesn't narrow it down at all. I'm sorry, I'm like blanking out on this name at all, like super hard. Hang on, let me look it up. It's got to be Boogie 2988. That guy.
Okay.
Yeah, that guy's Polonius.
And then who will be Ophelia?
Ophelia is Tara Montague. Tana that lady who lies in Storytime videos.
Okay, perfect. I mean, that's very much in the spirit of Shakespeare.
Yes. Yeah. Who else could be in there? Who would play the dead king's ghost?
Well, he's the same guy who plays the king's dad, Claudius.
Oh, okay. All right.
Who plays Hamlet's uncle and his dad?
His uncle dad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Okay. How about Markiplier for no reason?
Okay. Just give him a bald wig.
Yeah.
It sounds like the best Shakespeare rendition ever made.
I want to.
Directed by Lars von Trier.
Oh, that guy. That guy's a bad guy. Lars von Trier, like, when you're someone who studies film, if you say Lars von Trier is like a really awesome artist and really intelligent, you're kind of fucking wrong. That was that guy who made his entire cast for his movie super uncomfortable by saying he was a Nazi during a Q&A at like a convention about his movie. And then all of the people in the cast of the movie, I think Kirsten Dunst was there, just visibly got super uncomfortable and looked like they were about ready to leave.
Mm-hmm. Are you excited for Lars von Trier's next film of The House That Jack Built?
Oh boy, I can't wait for him to spend 3 hours talking about how sex is evil in this movie too. That fucking...
The story follows Jack, a serial killer, over the course of 12 years in the 1970s and 1980s in Washington. Von Trier has described the film as celebrating the idea that life is evil and soulless. Starring Uma Thurman.
Uma, no, you deserve better roles than that. You were Beatrix Kiddo.
So it's basically like Hannibal Lecter, the origin story. Starring Matt Dillon.
Matt Dillon?
Yee.
Who's that?
He's a actorman.
I don't know who Matt Dillon is. I know who Matt Damon is.
He was in Over the Edge, My Bodyguard, Little Darlings, The Outsiders, Drugstore Cowboy, Singles, Beautiful Girls, There's Something About Mary.
You know what? I figured out a perfect
Going
way to
in
describe
style.
Lars von Trier. Lars von Trier is the edgiest, most like full of himself, kind of cynical piece of garbage in existence. He's like he's you know, he also thinks he's a genius when he's not. He's
the Friedrich Nietzsche of filmmaking.
He's basically the biggest Rick and Morty fanboy of all time.
So he's basically Nietzsche.
Yes.
If you don't know who Nietzsche is, he's basically like the Rick and Morty of philosophy. It's basically
he who does not fight monsters is doomed to become one himself.
Who basically says that life is meaningless and we just need to embrace the fact that there's nothing there and just have fun and throw off slave morality or stuff. So he's basically like #woke. You know, he's basically the philosopher of edgy teenagers.
I don't think people should listen to you if your like main point is like, because I understand like have fun and, you know, live a good life and appreciate what you have, but not if you're using it to justify committing crimes and killing people. Like don't say, well, you know, laws are basically just a social construct. You can really rape and kill anyone if you really feel like it. You know, it's just like as long as you don't get away with it, it's like there's really no one who can tell you no. Like really, it's just like, you know, just boring human rules. Like, yeah.
So yeah, Nietzsche is.
I pronounce it Nietzsche. I'm probably wrong.
You're wrong. You are absolutely wrong.
Oh.
But then again, so is Nietzsche. So
Yeah.
What do you expect?
What, do you think his name deserves to be pronounced correctly?
No.
Okay, there you go.
So yeah, there we go.
Anyway, Lars von Trier is a very sexually repressed man.
So he's the Freud of the filmmaking world.
No, because
I need
Freud
to
was
invent
an
a psychological theory that explains why I can do my mom.
Well, okay,
I
so
need to explain why I wanted to have sex with my mother.
Freud.
Now I'm going to invent an entire field of study to do it.
Okay, all right, okay. So Freud was at least kind of like an interesting person, and you know, you can make an argument for some of his cases. I don't feel like Lars von Trier does anything really. I don't think he has any kind of bigger points to make. His movies are really just a loudspeaker for him to shout political opinions and opinions about sex. have sex, your baby will fall out of a balcony and die, and then your wife will hammer nails into your penis and pin you to a hardwood floor in a cabin. That's what happens if you have sex, kids.
Hey, it wouldn't be out of place in our teen choices class.
I remember that. That shit was great.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah. Okay, so our teen choices class was really aggravating because they would just...
So freshman year of high school, we had this class called teen choices class, which was basically just
I already am like
just
so
a loudspeaker
skeptical of that name.
So it was basically just a loudspeaker for whoever was creating the class, for them to tell us what we're supposed to do with our lives as teenagers.
And with our nether regions.
Especially with our nether regions.
Basically, the
sex portion of the class was just don't.
The logic they use is that if you have sex when you aren't married, because they keep saying, like, if you're married, it's fine, nothing bad will happen. Like this weird brainwashing, like it somehow won't have problems there. But if you have sex before you get married, you'll either get AIDS, or they'll get pregnant, or they'll break your heart and leave you. But they talk about it as if though all of those are not also options if you are married. And also, like, they don't acknowledge any kind of scenario where all three of those doesn't happen. And then they would just start flat out lying about like I started like because they were like put anonymous questions about it in this hat, and then we'll start answering them. So I started asking like what's the risk of this thing, and then like go through a scenario that's totally risk free in terms of like pregnancy or any kind of sexually transmitted disease, and then he looks at it and goes, well, there's still a chance that you'll break up and you'll get your heart broken, so it's best to avoid it. And I was like sitting there like, are you fucking serious? Like, you're misleading these children. You are lying, sir.
I didn't even get.
That's always a risk. Even if you are married to someone for 100 years and don't have sex a single time, your heart's still capable of being broken.
You're either gonna have biological risks or emotional risks. Loneliness, choosing not to, has its risks too.
What if you get super depressed from not having sex at all and then just like become Lars von Trier?
That's equally as risky as the other.
That's one of the big risks, man. If you don't get laid, you could just be a really, really pretentious, shitty indie
filmmaker.
Director.
You could make Melancholia if you don't have sex.
Oh, Lord. Do you think the two planets smashing into each other in Melancholia is some kind of metaphor?
I don't care. Like, you actually cared about that class. But I was still in
that was how we met, was we were sitting next to each other in that class.
I was just like, yeah, this is the class. I'm just gonna regurgitate what they said. I mean, it wasn't... I mean, I'd already heard the whole abstinence thing from my parents a dozen times over, so it wasn't anything new for me to have that. But my mom, I can tell you, my mom was really pleased by that.
So, I mean, you weren't really focusing
she would always,
on the lies
like
of the
church
class.
with all of our church friends. She's like, oh, and they teach abstinence there, and I'm like,
oh God. Yeah. They also made us play this stupid game where it was like, you flip this coin, heads you get AIDS, tails you get pregnant, right? And then you'd flip a coin and he'd go, oh no, you got AIDS and you're pregnant. I'm like, what? What?
You're pregnant with an AIDS baby.
Oh no, not again. Oh jeez, I have the worst luck.
Yep. Then again, I'm kind of used to that whole thing because, yeah, my mom was like that.
Super, super religious, and, like, if you talk to a female, your penis will fall off?
Yeah. Yeah. She was also really weird about, she got into my head that I was gay, and then she, like, she asked me like multiple times, and then she sat me down in the car and told me that if you're gay and you have sex in the butt, here's the problems that you're gonna have to deal with for the rest of your life. I swear.
I'm so sorry, man. I'm sorry. That's the thing. You know what? Moms need to stop doing that. If their son is having a hard time finding a girlfriend, they need to stop immediately assuming gay, and then like.
And also, it's even worse. That's not the most awkward thing that I've done in the car with my mom. It is topped by both. This is on a previous podcast.
Oh yeah. But
the American Gods sex scene.
Oh yeah, listening to the audio tape of the American Gods sex scene where a girl's vagina eats a man alive.
Yeah, where you eat, where a prostitute eats a guy through her vagina.
Yeah, with like teeth.
No, not teeth. She just sort of sucks him in.
Pleasant.
Yeah. And then also the time that my mom put in this like lecture by this crazy person who said that Hollywood is communist and they're declining our morals for the communist takeover because like the Frankfurt School existed, and that's not a Nazi conspiracy theory at all. Hint, it is.
Good Lord. Okay.
And then he said in the question and answer period that Joseph McCarthy was onto it. He knew what was going on.
He knew all along. He was the most wokest one. Okay, so for me,
so yeah, I've had a lot of it. I've had a lot of awkward experiences in the car with my mom.
Everyone's had one
being
of those
told about
where
anal
your mom
sex.
tries like. You see, parents are really, really bad at like talking to kids about that stuff in a way that's not really cringy. Inversely, my mom is constantly trying to hook me up with girls my age, and is like, "Hey, you should spend the night at her house. You could totally get laid." And I'm like, "I don't. I'm bored. I don't want to talk to her. She's lame. We don't have any common interests." And she's like, "No, but you could get laid though. It'd be awesome. I'd give you a high five." And I'm like, but she doesn't like comic books, and you know, she thinks the stuff that I talk about is boring. You know, we don't. We're not a good couple.
Stop trying to make your life choices, Mom.
Oh my God, this is pretty. It's it's deep cutting, but it's not wrong. I mean, she did get pregnant at 19.
If it was anyone else but your mom, I wouldn't make that joke, but I think she can take it.
Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, but come on, this girl's like taller than you. If you like walk into her too fast, you could get a face full of boobs." And I'm like, "This is not an anime," because my mom has started watching way too much anime.
Oh no!
And, she's now starting to try and tell me I should be like them.
Oh no! Of all the things to get dating advice from, anime is not one of them.
Yeah. So that's been kind of weird. And then, of course, she also at one point was like, "Hey, son, are you gay?" And I went, "No, why?" And she's like, "I don't know. You just never really hang out with any girls." And I go, "Because there's no girls that like my interests that I know in person." And like the last 2 girls that I've dated have had to force themselves to pretend to like things I like so that we could have conversations. And that's a really stilted, toxic relationship. So, yeah. For anyone who wants more information, I did a giant post once, like just a blog about my relationships and how weird
It's on your Tumblr that nobody knows exists.
And 2017.
You have a Tumblr. You're gonna become a
I don't want to be a lesbian with a weird hair color.
Now? You're gonna be a pansexual trans feminist with a purple dyed hair.
Yeah. That sounds. Yeah. Sign me up.
That's your future.
Okay, so hold on. In this scenario, does anyone like me or want to hang out with me?
Yes.
Who? Is it?
I'm sure you can. You know the kids at school who are like that.
Yeah, I do.
Cassidy.
Shit, we're name dropping now. Here's the thing: if you don't say a last name, they'll never be able to pinpoint who we're talking about.
Yeah. So Cassidy, the other Lexi.
There's a lot of them.
You know the one that I'm talking
There's
about.
the Lexi that we used to have a lot of long conversations about she would just describe to me in detail her favorite kinds of porn.
Yeah, that one. That's the one.
That was a strange 9th grade conversation.
She would be your friend if you became a pansexual transfeminist. Who else would be your friends from our high school?
Let's see. I remember
the person who doesn't like rounded edges.
Because he is that demographic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who else? I feel like I avoided enough people in high school that were like that.
The Spencer, the guy who won like salutatorian or something.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, I had him in my English classes, and he would get super passionate about that sort of left-wing stuff.
Yeah. You know, this podcast must be very confusing for people because we have a lot of conversations where we bash on left-wing people and then bash on right-wing people in the span of 5 minutes.
Yep.
But then we also bash on libertarian people in the middle.
Oh boy. I can make jokes about libertarian people all day.
Oh yeah.
Just as long as we make fun of Republicans and
Here's
Democrats.
a hint. Everyone is terrible. In their own special way. That's the only way that everyone's truly special.
Everyone's terrible.
Everyone's their own flavor
people.
of awful, including you and me.
I'm just imagining like the Spongebob meme where he just becomes a he like spreads his hands apart and it's like there's a rainbow, and then just imagining above the text it's like everyone's terrible.
Perfect.
Or everyone's an asshole. There
but
you
if
go.
that logic is true, if everyone's an asshole, then everyone's not an asshole.
No.
Oh. I was trying to be optimistic.
Everyone is objectively an asshole.
Well, everyone who drives a car is. I hate driving,
Yes.
and I hate people on Earth. Like, I don't ever honk my horn or yell out the window or, like,
So
there's a lot of silently gritting my teeth and squinting at other drivers that cut me off and almost hit my car.
Can I say roughly where you are?
Yes, I live in Colorado.
I hate Denver traffic.
People who live in
So
Colorado
bad.
are terrible. I'm not gonna
Like,
say it's like
I don't-
the fault of the fact that like we have a billion people migrating from other states now because of the pot.
I don't know about like the Springs or
I feel like it's been-
northern Colorado or anything, but I think Denver's probably the worst because it's
The whole
biggest.
middle section of this state is a death trap for driving, and it was before the immigration, and it's gonna be after it slows down. It's just people here suck.
Yes.
I think it's because the air
What
is
is it?
thinner and they're having a harder time
You
breathing.
just drive it. You cross the state border from Kansas or Wyoming or New Mexico or Arizona or Utah, and you automatically
Just forget how to drive.
your driving skills just. It's like a feel. It's like an EMP, but for your driving skills.
As soon as you enter this force field, suddenly your driving skills are sapped to 50%.
Exactly. That's what happens when you move to Colorado.
Yeah, we have a bad driver field around the state. So yeah, here's my favorite thing in the universe. I would die if I didn't get to live with this every day. So the speed limit on the sign says 40, right? And I'm driving 40. The speedometer on my car is pointing at 40. And then someone yells out the window and says, "Hurry the fuck up," and then honks on their horn, and then almost gets into an accident trying to get into the lane beside me, and then cut in front of me. I'm going the speed limit, but I need to
here's the
hurry
thing.
up.
Here's the craziest thing. Here's about the crazy country that we live in, okay? When your speedometer says 40, it's lying.
Is it?
Every single speedometer in this country is slightly overclocked. So that, like, if you're speeding, then... So, like, I don't know, it's kind of like the automobile manufacturers didn't want the responsibility for speeding. So, it always says that you're going slightly faster than you actually are. So when when it says you're going 40, you're probably going like 37, 38.
Oh God, really?
Yes. It just boggles my mind why the automobile manufacturers couldn't just make the speed limit at the speed limit and then just have people say, it's your responsibility. The speed limit says what the speed limit is. This is America for you.
Yeah.
Absolute lunacy.
I don't.
But we love
We love it. We love living here. It's the worst country and therefore the best one. It's like living in a crazy magic. Like, no one wants to go to Canada where shit makes...
It's too boring.
It's boring there if everything
It makes sense. People who live there, they don't have to deal with all the stuff we have to do, but it's also kind of... It's like...
We complain, but it's like people being fans of like a sports team. Like, you're just gonna keep rattling on about how much you hate this player, or how much you want the team to do better next year.
It's like a reality TV show.
It's so fun to just like complain about it. You know, like why would you want to live somewhere that isn't terrible? Because then there'd be nothing interesting to talk about. Like there's this place, this country, is the land of opportunities to complain.
There you go. That is America in a nutshell.
It's the greatest country on earth.
It's maddening. It's wonderful. It's insane, and it's also amazing.
And that's why we appreciate it.
Yeah.
So come on down from Canada, Dane. Come hang out with me. We could watch Dragon Ball. I think you like that. I don't know. He's like 8 years older than me, so I don't know what he's into.
What do what are older millennials into?
Well, my mom loves Halo.
We are the youngest of the generation of millennials. Like, anybody born like after us are Gen Z or Gen I.
We don't have a name for the generation, like people in like freshman college right now.
High school right now.
The people in freshman college right now were the last generation of millennials.
Yeah, we're the last millennials.
Aren't the new ones called Centennials or some shit?
I think I heard them called iGen once because of the digital.
Because the iPhones. That generation.
So the people who are watching this video, I mean, except for a few of you that I'm aware of, are mostly of that generation.
Yes. And
so we're the last.
For those of you, we don't have a name for you yet, and you haven't particularly done anything terrible yet. But we'll find something to complain. Here's the thing.
I can't wait until in like 20 years when
we can suddenly pretend our generation was the greatest.
Starts writing articles about that generation and why they're the worst, and how the iGen is ruining this industry or that industry, or they're not as religious as they're supposed to be. I can't wait to write those articles. They're going to be so much fun.
It's going to be great. We'll finally get back at all the... Here's the thing, is like all the articles about millennials being triggered by things are hilarious to me because of how oversensitive and stupid we are. But at the same time, I can't wait to see the next...
Being oversensitive.
I can't...
But at the same time, the people who are writing the articles about how overly sensitive and stupid we are showing themselves to be overly sensitive and stupid about the things that we do.
It's like every generation is going to be super hypercritical of the next one and pretend that theirs was a really good one, even though they did nothing but terrible things.
Yeah. So I can't wait to shit on the next generation like everybody does.
Yeah, it'll be great. We'll finally... It's like when you start out as
we get to blame them for the problems that we create.
Exactly. It's like when you're a freshman in high school. Everyone treats you like dirt. But then when you're a senior, even though you're basically the exact same person and nothing about you is different at all, and you're not any more responsible than you were 3 years ago, you can suddenly act really high and mighty and superior. It's great. We'll finally we're gonna get our time in the sun soon enough, buddy. Don't worry.
I can't wait until our generation screws up the planet so badly that the next generation has no idea what to do with the mess that we left them. It's like revenge.
It's like revenge for what happened.
It's a cycle of revenge. Because, like, the previous generation screws us over by doing all these bad things. So the next ones, get the opportunity to screw the next generation over. And then it's just an unending cycle of misery and torment, where the older generation gets to screw over and blame the next generation for all the problems that the previous generation caused. Isn't this just brilliant?
But what if, like, you could, like, try and fix some of the errors of the previous... Like, what if you, like, try and, like, actually deal with the problems they left you?
Shut up. You're talking nonsense.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right. Well, this podcast got really... This took a weird direction. It's like... We're talking about basic human behavior at this point, and not really, like, politics or, like, movies.
Or movies.
Or, like, lame comic book shit. We're just talking about the human race in general and how great they are.
Yeah. Nihilism is amazing if you play it right.
It's weird being nihilistic, but also not liking Rick and Morty fans who like nihilism.
If you go with Invader Zim nihilism, it's amazing, but if you go with Rick and Morty nihilism, it's the worst thing ever.
Okay, alright, I'll buy that for $1.
Hey, you want to round this off with some movie news? You want to talk about the new Mission Impossible film?
I feel like there's, like, tons of current events that we've refused to talk about for several weeks in a row.
Well, what kind of current events do you want to talk?
I don't know. I don't really keep up with current events. I know Dan Slott's done writing Spider-Man. Like, he's starting his final arc.
I don't care.
At this point, I don't either now. Like, I'm just tired. I feel like...
Okay, so I'm so excited for the new Mission Impossible film because I think that Christopher McQuarrie is a very talented writer and director, and I think that he can make he's shown that he can make a good genre film, a good spy film. He wrote Edge of Tomorrow, which is one of the best written films in the past few years. And I'm curious to see what he's going to do next with Mission Impossible. And I really loved that character Ilsa Faust from that movie, so I'm genuinely excited for it. But that doesn't mean we can have a little fun with it. So Tom Cruise released an image from the movie, which is... Henry Cavill walking away from Angela Bassett behind the Eiffel Tower. Now, I'm going to show you what the memesters did with it. Check your Facebook Messenger.
Let's see here. Is it the thing I saw on Twitter earlier? Because I'd love that. That shit was awesome. Let's see here. Yeah, it is the thing. I love it. It's perfect.
They did the unfaithful boyfriend thing with Henry Cavill and Angela Bassett.
That stock photo thing is
wonderful.
so stupid, but makes me laugh so hard.
I think stock photo memes are some of the best memes.
Just because there's something so innocent about them.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I don't know. There's just some kind of, like, childlike ignorance behind making stock photos where you just, like... have no social skills at all and are just trying to make photos. What is the purpose of stock photos again if they're gonna always have...
You can make money. Like, you use them in your PowerPoint presentations and your advertising materials for your crappy products. Or in, like, college admissions pamphlets.
Okay, hold on.
Whenever you...
Do you buy stock photos somewhere?
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
You buy them from, like, Shutterstock and places like that, or Getty Images or stuff like that.
Can we get into the stock photo industry? I mean, I think between the two of us, one of us probably has a somewhat decent quality camera.
Can't imagine who it is.
We could just go to random places and just take snapshots of stupid shit, and then, like, make small amounts of money via stock photo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think we should try that. That'll be our new project for the week.
Yeah, we're gonna quit YouTube. YouTube was a mistake, and we're just gonna get into the stock photo industry.
Yeah.
I think we should just admit that should be YouTube's Twitter bio. YouTube was a mistake.
No Man's Sky was YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Because let's be honest, YouTube is a mistake.
Yes. Okay. That's
honestly.
Yeah. I feel like YouTube, like, I don't know. I feel like they're listening to these videos and just getting progressively angrier at us for having nothing positive to say about them ever.
These are too long. YouTube doesn't have the time to watch this crap.
Like I said last time, if you have the time to watch the whole video, let us know. We appreciate you if you listen to the whole thing.
So if you have listened up to this point, which is the hour 35-minute mark, type in the comments below LaCroix.
LaCroix.
The soda brand.
Oh, what is that? There's a soda brand called LaCroix?
Yeah, except there's an X at the end because French is weird.
Okay. LaCroix.
It was on my desk. It was just a random thing that was on my desk.
Your desk?
So type that into the comments. LACROI.
Oh, no, I sneezed so hard my
Just so
headphones
that you know
fell
that we're
off.
listening.
No, that's a perfect spot to end the podcast. Turn it off. It has to end right here.